Welcome to the Mindset Architect podcast, where it's all about creating the life you want, the business you want, and making a real difference. Join us in unlocking the code to true success. And now your host, Tony Caliendo, Master Coach with Rethink Coaching.
Welcome to the Mindset Architect podcast, episode number 59. I'm Tony Caliendo, Master Coach here at Rethink Coaching. And as always, I want to thank you for being here with me today. Time truly is our most valuable asset, and the fact that you are investing your time with me truly is appreciated. So I am super excited, as always, to talk to you guys today about a couple things that I'm noticing coming up. And in fact, I was presenting and teaching at a mastermind yesterday, and this came up, and I think it doesn't matter what industry you're in. I think for the real estate group that I was speaking to yesterday, it's a moment in time that has lasted a very long time for us, that has caused some overwhelm, some uncertainty. And I was so grateful that the group shared it with me and were able to talk about ways that you could work through overwhelm. And I thought it was really important enough that we spent a moment talking about overwhelm and uncertainty today, because we're coming up on a time of year where we're either assessing what we did and didn't do, and we've got a gap between where we are and where our actual goals are, and we're piling on the things to do. In addition, we've got the holidays coming and parties and events, and we want to spend time with family, and it can feel a bit overwhelming if you let it. And so I want to start off with overwhelm. When I asked the group yesterday, what do you mean by overwhelm? And it's, a couple were saying, hey, I feel like I'm underwater. I feel like I can't come up for air. I feel like there's just so much coming at me at one time. There's more to do than I have time for. That's what's kind of percolating. And I don't know if that resonates with you, but it certainly resonates with me as someone who's running a couple of businesses and can at times have those feelings. But here's what I want to invite you to think about. It's, like we talk about all the time, right? It's a thought that creates a feeling. But really, when I want to talk about overwhelm, in my mind, in the way that I view it as a person, business owner, entrepreneur, is that it's really a processing issue or processing function. And what I mean by that is when I find that my private one-on-one clients are in a space of overwhelm, it really is just because they're not taking the time to unload and unpack everything that they need to do. And it's all floating around in their head. And what ends up happening is you're not really able to sort the information as well as you could if you put it on paper. And you're also more prone to misprioritize what's really important and go after some of the things that are quick and easy and fun, and missing out on the really key things that we must do. And that's because it's a processing issue. So there's two things that you can do if you're feeling like you're in a space of overwhelm, and it's really okay to feel that way. It really is. Talked about this a little bit in a previous podcast. The amount of data and information that we have coming at us every second of the day is just unbelievable, between social media and texting and direct messaging and emails and phone calls and news sources and podcast. And it just goes on and on and on, that it is easy to start taking in a lot of data, not sorting it to what's important for you to have, and just taking it all in and not really knowing what to do with it. So I want to talk about two things that can help you stay out of overwhelm as much as possible. Number one, it's a dirty word for entrepreneurs, but I'm going to say it. It's a dirty word for real estate agents, but I'm going to say it: calendar and time blocking. It is the thing that, for whatever reason, and I think we resist it because we got into this industry to have freedom and flexibility, and we look at a calendar as confining. We look at time blocking as robbing us of our freedom and flexibility. I can remember, and I think I've shared this with you guys, I left the hotel industry and went into real estate. And when I worked for Marriott Hotels, which, by the way, best corporate job I ever had, we had to follow, for the position I was in and the number of meetings I was having and the departments I was responsible for and the regions and all that fun stuff, I really had to follow a calendar to a T. And this was back in the day before we had, mobile devices that we could keep a calendar on. I had what we used to call the day timer, and it would be filled with exactly what I was doing every moment of the day. And the days were long. They'd start at 5 in the morning and end at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And when I left that world to go create my world in real estate, I remember throwing my day timer on the back seat and thinking to myself, I never want to do that again, because I want to enjoy all of the freedom and flexibility that real estate is going to give me. And it was probably, 6 weeks in that I realized I was a hot mess and I wasn't actually creating more time for myself by creating all this perceived freedom. I was actually causing myself a whole lot of chaos and a whole lot of overwhelm, because I was trying to remember as much as I could. I was missing phone calls, missing appointments, missing callbacks, missing follow-up, all of the key stuff that makes you successful in real estate. Because in my mind, I thought, I won't forget to do this. And I did. In my mind, I thought, ooh, that's important for me to go do right now. And I'd start to do it. And then something else would pop in my head. I'm like, but I better go do that first. And then I'd start doing that. And another item floating around in my head would come up and I'd jump over to do it. And at the end of the day, I had a whole lot of things started and nothing finished. And I was not gaining traction. So I dusted off my day timer and brought it back to life. And I looked at it differently. I looked at that calendar as a way to keep me out of chaos, to keep me out of overwhelm, because my brain knew exactly what it needed to do and at what time. And what I loved about it is I'd have a thought like, oh my gosh, I need to do that. I need to do this thing. And let's say it was responding to an email or some administrative type of function that I needed to do. Rather than just stopping everything that I was doing and attempting to start it, knowing I would get distracted, I could look at my calendar and say, you know what, at 1 o'clock, I got 45 minutes blocked to do those types of activities. I'm going to put it off until then. And I would make a note so I didn't forget about it in my little day timer. And I knew that at 1 o'clock, my brain was like, cool, I got this at 1 o'clock. I don't have to worry about it anymore. And I got it out of my head and I got out of that space of panic or overwhelm. So calendar and time blocking. If you resist it, I promise you, this is the weirdest thing. I had more freedom and flexibility when I followed my calendar than when I didn't. And what I noticed was when I started to manage my overwhelm through calendar and time blocking, at the end of the day, I wasn't sitting in the living room with my family with my laptop on my desk doing a bunch of stuff. I was actually completing everything that I'd committed to complete during the day, the majority of the time, to where I could sit and enjoy dinner. I could sit and enjoy an evening walk. I could sit and enjoy a conversation without clacking away on the keyboard pretending I was paying attention. So overwhelm can be managed by a calendar and time blocking. And I invite you, if you're not doing it at a high level, to do it at a high level. I've also talked about this before. A set it and forget it calendar is not the best way to go. And what I mean by that is just don't set, hey, from 9 to 11, every day I'm doing this. And you put it in your calendar on Monday, the 1st of January, and you have it repeat 5 days a week for the rest of the year. And you don't really think about it anymore. I believe in having a live calendar, visiting it once a week, making changes, moving things around. It's called life, and we need to do it. So managing your overwhelm, number one thing I cannot recommend enough is to follow a calendar. And, it's fun to learn. Like if somebody saw my calendar, I don't know what they might think about me, but I have some weird categories on there. But it's my me time. It's the time that I want to do things for my life and my business. And so I will time block everything. I'll time block thinking time. I'll time block, my CEO time. I will time block my meditation. I will time block my everything, my gym, my meals, all of it. I just have it on there because I know if I don't, it's going to get away from me and I'm going to feel overwhelmed. Number 2 thing that you can do to manage your overwhelm is, and I've alluded to this, when you carry your to-do list in your head, so you have everything floating around up there that you must do, you are unable to really prioritize what really must be done first, what's the most critical thing to do. And so our brain likes to jump around and find some fun things or some things that we can do quickly to experience a win, and some maybe not important things, but they feel good. And so when all of that stuff is floating around in your head, you're really missing out on opportunity to execute the most important activities that are going to move you forward in your business and in your life. So I recommend this, and I've had to do this sometimes in the middle of the day because I started off the day with great intentions, and by noon I was just in a poop storm of stuff that had, all come at me, and I was feeling, or I will feel, overwhelmed. And I just sit with it all, and I take out a piece of paper. I'm a pen and paper guy. I don't care how you do it necessarily, but I just would sit with all of the thoughts that I was having about the things that I felt like I had to do, and I would write them down. I would just dump it all out, from, picking up the dry cleaning at 5 o'clock to everything that was floating around in my head that I felt like I needed to get done in the rest of that time I had for that day. I wrote down. And then I just would look at the list and I'd go through it, and I'm like, yeah, I can delete a bunch of this. I don't really need to do it. It's a great idea. It's not a today idea. And I would delete it, or I would delay it. I'd be like, you know what? I really should do that. And it's important. It just isn't important today. I'm going to move it to 3 days from now, or 3 weeks from now, or 3 months from now. And I would have deleted things I thought were unnecessary. Now I have delayed things to the appropriate time when they needed to be done. And then I have delegated is the last thing I'll do. So I have a team, and I have become really good at delegating things that are not in my strength zone, but they land on my plate just because I'm a go-to in the organization. And so I will delegate. And, if you don't have a team or a staff, do you have a virtual assistant? Do you have a spouse? Do you have a friend? Do you have somebody that can help you out? Do you have Instacart? There's all kinds of ways that we can delegate. If I've got on my list to go to the grocery and I know that's going to take me an hour, and I need that hour to do something more important, you better believe I'm going to do DoorDash or Instacart or something to leverage that off. So I don't even have to have a team member for that activity. But this dumping things out, deleting the things that you really don't need to do, that are just kind of like wild one-off ideas, or you heard something throughout the day and it's really not important or related, delete it. Then go back through the list and delay anything that you can delay to the appropriate time that it might need to be placed. Delegate. I'm going to delegate a bunch of stuff off. I've become really good at that. And then what you're really left with is the things that you must do. It's your true to-do list. And in that process, I can now take that and I can prioritize what's the most important thing for me to get done on this list that's going to move me forward, or that is going to impact the clients I'm working with. So the seller, the buyer, my coaching client, whatever that is for you, you actually then have a more realistic, very realistic to-do list. And you know what you must get done first, because it's the most important to move your business forward. So that is how I personally get out of overwhelm. I honestly just look at my calendar, make sure it's still supporting me. I visit it once a week. I look at my next 10 days. I have always done a 10-day forward calendar. I look at my next 10 days. I make any adjustments that I need to make. I also will look at the items on there and realize that that item that I've got scheduled for 30 minutes is always taking me 45 to an hour. And I will either adjust it to a longer time period, or I will have a conversation with myself about how to make it work in that amount of time. But your calendar and your time blocking will keep you out of overwhelm, because you've got compartments for everything to fall in that's coming at you throughout the day, or those things that pop up that we weren't planning on. The other thing that I want to talk about is really critical are the words that we use. I have to do this. What if we looked at it and said, I have the privilege of doing this, or I get to do this, or by doing this, I get to have amazing time with my family. Just watch the words that you use. That I need to is I have to. Oh my God, I'm dreading doing this. Pay attention to that stuff, because that can toss you into overwhelm too, because you're starting to attach negative emotions to the things that are floating around in your head. And even on your to-do list, I never look at my to-do list as a punishment. I look at my to-do list as the vehicle to get to where I want to go. I look at my to-do list as my opportunity for the day to make a difference. So watch the words that you're saying, because that can have a profound impact on how you process what's coming in. Now, I'm going to say this, not spend a whole lot of time on it, because there's another podcast that we talk about this, is overwhelm can cause uncertainty. It can cause you to really not know what the heck to do next, and have you pick the wrong things and create an outcome that you're not really looking for, and make you feel uncertain about your future, about your goals, about your success, about your income, about your life. And so overwhelm can have an impact on our certainty. And if you remember, certainty is what I consider to be our number one basic human need. And when we do not intentionally create it, our poor little brains are desperately searching for it on an unconscious level. And when you feel uncertain, it really impacts how you show up. And so again, certainty for me comes in my calendar. Certainty for me comes in something comes up that is not on my list for the day. And yet I can look at my calendar and figure out a way to make it work. If it is a priority, I can move it to a different day, or I can delegate it to somebody else. Creating this space of certainty that the task is going to get done, that the project is going to get done, and that it is going to be taken care of. That's where overwhelm and getting out of it can really benefit you from supporting your place of certainty. Certainty is one of the big ones, team. And it is one of the things that happens when we wake up in the morning. Our brain starts looking for certainty. We don't consciously say, hey, I'm going to go out and find certainty today. But what does happen is your brain might be going, oh my God, he's a hot mess. He's got all this stuff in his head. I don't know what we're doing. I got to figure this out. I feel very uneasy. And then I open up my calendar and it's like, there's the certainty. There's the certainty right there. Or if a fire happens during the middle of the day, and let's face it, realtors, that happens often, that our brain knows, hey, we got this. We got a time and a place for it. And because we have some flex in our calendar, we can always move things around based upon priority. So this in itself can lend itself to your feeling more certain about everything. So I'm going to invite you, if you're feeling overwhelmed, first of all, it's okay. It's okay. It's a natural thing. I want you to think about the fact that it is a feeling caused by a process. All right. And, we can say feelings are caused by thoughts. Yeah. But this one is caused by a process or lack of. It is not allowing your brain to process things the way it needs to. It's not allowing you to process your day the way you need to. It's not allowing you to process a to-do list the way you need to. It really is a processing function that will mess with your head. So embrace that and then do something about it. So here's what I talked about, calendar, time blocking, and then dumping all the stuff out. You might flip the order of that if you're feeling overwhelmed. Jumping to a calendar right away may not be the right thing for you to do. Dumping everything out that you need to dump out, and you might do this for your upcoming week, just kind of dump it all out, do the delete, the delete, the delay, the delegate, do all that fun stuff, and then turn to a calendar once you've got clarity around what you need to do. And make sure that your calendar is supporting you. Sometimes, we might want to start with the calendar and we might not know what to do with it until you get out of the overwhelm and dump all the stuff out. And then secondly, just watch your words. When you find yourself using negative or words that make you have a charge, oh my God, I've got to go pick up the kids at 4:00. Okay, cool. You get to go pick up your kids at 4:00. Awesome. Or, you know what? My neighbor and I pick up at the same time. Could I text them today and see if they don't mind picking up the kids for me? Delegate, right? Just watch your words. It does matter. And look at things as a blessing, not a drudgery, not a harsh task. Look at the things that you get to do as a blessing. Because here's what I know. If we don't get out of overwhelm and we don't figure this out and we don't follow a calendar and we don't move the needle forward, we're going to be out of business. And then you will be working for somebody else who is able to figure this out, because they're going to need to hire you to do some of the things that they are going to delegate or delay, and that's going to land on your plate. And you want to talk about losing freedom, money and freedom. You're going to lose it pretty quick, because most corporate jobs, I know, it doesn't matter if you work 40 or 80 hours, your paycheck is the same. So this is a way to keep you moving forward and to enjoying the journey of being an entrepreneur. Real estate's a blast. Being an entrepreneur is such a privilege. Pay attention when you're in overwhelm. Get out of it as quickly as you can. Look at your process the things you need to take care of. Make sure your calendar's there to support you. And I can make you this commitment. When you do this, you have a ton of freedom and flexibility and you actually enjoy the journey. As always, if you got a question, please let me know. You can find me, Tony at rethinkcoaching.com, email. You can use all the usual social medias, Instagram, Facebook. You can Google me, get my phone number, whatever you need, just reach out. If you are really stuck in overwhelm and these things are not helping you, reach out for a free call. We'll take care of you and get you back on track. All right, team, see you next week. Make it a good one. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you must come check out the Mindset Architect Group Coaching Program. It's our monthly program where we explore the power of your mindset, help you identify what you truly want in business and life, and then help you reach those goals. Come check us out at rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. That's rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. We'll see you there.